So let's put the hard edge on here. Make this line more curved. This part is quite tricky, so I have to manually move the verts around. I don't like this bump over here. Also, it's quite useful to pay attention to tree count right here. So right now it's 2.5k triangles. Obviously it's going to be 2 times more because it's only the half. Just for like general statistics, it's still quite a lot. Well, it's still okay actually. The main purpose in doing guns is to maintain flow so that every shape would look smooth and not edgy, and that's the number one priority, not the poly count. So I can afford a bit extra polys at some point just to make the surface look better. For example, like here. Okay, I don't need these guys. No, this one is needed. What I'm trying to preserve right here is the shading of the model. You can see right there those kind of artifacts. I'm trying to make sure that the mesh looks smooth as possible in terms of light reflections. Like here, you can see it flawless right there. And I try, like the more trickier place we have, the more attention I should pay to that area, so that it's actually quite a big topic to talk about, because how normal map is working. It basically takes like the shading you already have, and when you bake, it just like compensates this shading and applies like high poly information on top of that. So the best condition is when you have flawless shading without normal mapping, so that your normal map would look really smooth without any gradients, and that is the best result, because gradients are bad in terms of when, for example, you compress your texture and for example, you have your gun in a game engine, you send this model to game engine and you send your textures. Most of the times when you use like Marmoset or something, it's going to be fine, but in games textures are compressed, and while this compression happens, normal map with those gradients on it can suffer a bit, and it can cause even more artifacts on those places. So that gradient will cause shading problems on the mesh. So in order to avoid that thing, you should do the best shading without normal maps as you can. So, like in a couple words, this is how it works. So right now I'm trying to figure out this place over here so that it could look really nice. And I'm doing this just by adding some more vertices and adjusting hard edges and soft edges. As I said before, the more soft edges you have, the better, because every hard edge means that you have to cut your texture at that exact place, and that's not always the good part, because you can actually see a tiny seam on the place of the hard edge, while with soft edges you don't have that seam. So like doing low poly is kind of a balance between all of those parts, like soft and hard edges, shading. These are all really important parts. Right there. This one is actually rounded, which is not in my okay. Another thing is when you have this flat surface like over here, which is bordered with hard edge, you can actually do those small triangles. It's going to look fine as long as this surface is flat. Getting to know the shading and how this thing works comes with experience of doing models, and you can't get that from the first try. Okay. Just filling those n-gons. Well, this area seems to be kind of a clear right there. There's a great tool in Mesh Cleanup, and you can check and uncheck some options you want to select. For example, the most important is faces with more than 4 sides, and select, not cleanup. If you check the cleanup, it will fix the mesh on its own. That's not what you want. You need to be those faces just to be highlighted. So select, and you can see it selects all the problematic faces. What I can see here, I just can select all the vertices and weld. Merge them. And somehow there's a bug in this, and if you click apply once, it will show the previous result. You can click apply again, and it will hide those that you fixed. So now we can see the actual information right here, and right there, and this face as well, and this one. Because it's quite impossible to get the track of all faces that you're looking for, and this tool helps a lot. I'll move it to the second monitor. Okay. Why? The green vertice, I'm not sure where's that. Usually it's okay if I have those. Okay, this area does not look really good. In order to make this part look okay, I'll have to create this extra edge that will not actually serve the purpose of silhouette, but will serve the purpose of connecting vertices so that the shading would be kept good. Something like that. Like so. This looks good. Well, you can see the front part is almost done. Right, we have some issues right here, and soft edge over here is required. Okay, yeah, the front part is okay, except this thing. Whoops. Okay, so this part is quite not good looking, so I'll have to weld this guy over here. This is like rarely seen part in the guns, so I can afford myself to do that. Connect. Okay, so let's clean this place up. You can see the main edge over there. This is like the main shape former, if you can call it like that. And I'm going to stick to that edge most of the time. So now I just clean this part up. Like so, I don't need these guys at all. These vertices are the result of that subdivision I applied for the frame mesh. Now I have to clean that up. Okay. Guess I don't need this. Keep it like this. I know this guy gives the form, so this actually is a polygon, so it's okay, but still there are some issues with, yeah, sometimes the best decision is just select all the vertices and hit weld. You can see that there was 71, now it's 70, so somewhere they are too close together and I just welded those. It's okay. Again, as you go through this, don't forget to adjust your soft and hard edges. It's really important. Let's go. I think I can actually, whoa, do this and keep this triangle right there. Yep, it's good. Okay. Let's go on with, nope. Just welding those guys together, no, right there. I don't need none of that. Because this surface should be flat. None of those guys are affecting our silhouette, so that's okay. So I guess at this point I'll speed up the process because I think I explained enough of this process. So the rest of this thing will be handled pretty much the same way, nothing too special here. And after the speed up, I'll be able to explain the details I've done. So let's go Okay, so this is how the final mesh of the frame looks like. I had several adjustments done here. For example, these holes, I redid those because I decided that 12 edges will be enough. So also some things worth mentioning, like here I've created this extra bevel right there for better shading. If I delete this thing, you will see how much worse the shading became. See there, like Control Z, and here it is. Like, supporting edges are working for shading as well as for when you want to subdivide your mesh. So supporting edge is pretty much doing the same thing in terms of shading. So now it looks good. Anything else to mention? So yeah, when I finished this thing, I duplicated the mesh and flipped it on the other side, welded together, and then did this cutout over here and added this thing on top of that. And well, this is pretty much it. So the only thing left is to organize this mesh. So Control G, low poly, and name this thing according to the high poly. So the same name, but at the end low. Now when you export it, the program will understand what is that, and it will tie those two meshes together. So the next thing is going to be the slide, and it's going to have pretty much the same workflow. So let's go back into ZBrush, select our slide, export. Same thing here, assign material, apply soft edges like this, and send it to correct folder. Here it is, and give it a proper name. So it's number 2. All right, and now we cannot select it because it's in the group that is in the layer, which set to reference. All right, so, and same process is going to be here. So let's hide this folder, select slide folder, select this guy, close the folder, move it on the second position, and same thing, let's go from the very first one till the end, and the process is going to be pretty much the same. And I think I'll guide you just from the start, and then it's going to be pretty much the same. So I think I will speed it up again at some point. Okay, so let's go and set the material, and let's delete supporting edges right there, right here. Whoa. Is my symmetry turned on? Oh no, it's because, yeah, they are connected underneath. That is okay. So delete. In order to avoid this mess over here, what I'm going to do is just select the bottom faces and delete those, and just fill this gap with a single hang-on like this. Okay, so I think we're good with this guy. So let's go in terms, in turns. Same thing here. Okay, so I can hide the frame for now. I don't need this. And same thing for the high poly. Now let's do just the way I was doing it before. So this is our outer shell, as you can see. I don't need this and this. All right, as well as this. No, this one is needed. Like so. And also these guys are supporting. Don't need those. Right. Oops. I think I'm pretty okay with this amount of edges on this place because this is really important part. And in order to get better view at this, I'll just select these guys over there and set them to soft edges like this and just check how it looks. Well, you will be able to see it this close of the gun and it looks smooth for me at least. Looks fine. So yeah, I'll keep it like this. Let's go on. All right. So, okay, let's merge those guys. And yeah, here's another issue. Maya somehow does not like those faces that overlap and have exactly the same coordinates, and those surfaces are perfectly aligned, and sometimes it like messes this place and just deletes some parts. That's okay. In my case, it's fine. And as you can see, there's still a problem because I select all the edges and I try to fill the hole and it fails because something is wrong with this. So I'll just try to delete some forms and see if it's gonna fix the problem. I don't need those guys. Let's try Bridget. Yeah, now we're good. Delete history, apply material. Looking good. Until I'm not finished with cutting all the shapes, I tend not to like edit the optimize the shape, because you might do some extra work that will be cut it out later. So okay, so you can see that this process is going to be pretty much the same, and I think I'm going to speed up this process as well, so that in the end with this shape I'll come back and give some tips and important. I'll explain some important places on this shape, but for now it pretty much the same process. So let's go and speed it up and go back later. Okay, so this is how the low poly slide looks like. I had to do some adjustments. First of all, this area right there, I had to go back to my Boolean scene over there and just expand this form further, because there was this ugly place. And the thing is that this place is going to be actually deleted because I don't need it, and it's not going to be exposed in any way, but there are areas like here, and that thing was visible, like at this point. So I had to move this thing like more into front. Okay. So as for any other things, so this is pretty much the same process. Nothing too special. For example, about the shading. So as you can see right now, I'm trying to do the soft and hard edges on my low poly stage so that everything could look smooth already, and also the hard edges are going to be like the seams on UV, so I'm thinking ahead about this. And again, I'm trying to make as much soft edges as possible and put the hard edge only at the place where the actual bevel on the high poly. So you can see here, so we have this hard edge over here, and it is same way on the high poly. Okay, so place those hard edges smartly, and try not to put them in not appropriate places. Also, for better things at shading, I've added this edge loop right there. You can see this one, because this helps with shading. And if you can see, like right there, this place looks pretty smooth. If I delete this edge loop right there, you can see like those issues are starting popping up, and that's bad. So in order to make this part soft edges, I had to add another edge loop, and that's okay because this part is going to be visible. It's going to be right in front of your face when you are going to be aiming or something like that. So this part, this area of the gun is really important. So it's okay to add some extra triangles, but to make sure that the shading is going to be nice and smooth. All right. So same thing here for these cylinder cutouts. This is the way I do this part. So if you, I like added some more triangles on purpose here because the smaller those triangles are right here, the better it looks. For example, if I just save some triangles and try to expand those over there, you will see that we have now issues right there. That's bad. I'm trying not to do that. With this extra edge loops, it looks good. The thing over here is not the same because the surface is flat, so I can afford doing this thing with like those triangles. This is like curved surface, so I have to do that extra edges. So what else? Well, I guess it's pretty much it. So you can see that I also placed this mesh under low poly folder, named it accordingly to the high poly model. Both models are already 6,300 triangles. That is completely okay for modern video game standards. That's awesome. That's great. That's far from too much. That's great. So as you can see, the most complicated parts are done, and I'm going to move on to magazine and barrel and small details. So they're going to be pretty much the same process. So let's go jump into that thing. So for the rest of the parts, I'm going to speed up the process as well, and I'll go back to you guys at the very end and emphasize some details or special parts or anything that I had to edit at some point, and I will comment on that. But for now, let's go into the speed up version and let's meet at the end of the retopology.